When the project was founded, the idea behind the Fresh Paint Gallery was everything that's institutionalized art is very pretentious, and whether it's boards and this and that of different museums and different galleries and what they perceive art to be or what it is, and if the artists haven't gone through a formal training, then they're not recognized, etc., etc. And unfortunately in graffiti culture, and you know, I'll use the word street art, but you know, my background is graffiti primarily. Graffiti artists don't seek that kind of validation by institutions because when they exhibit or when we do our work, it's on the street and it's seen by hundreds of thousands of people rather than a small group of gallery or museum goers, even for some of the larger museums, right? And it's documented, it's photographed, it circulates through social media, etc. So the public that sees graffiti and street art is a lot bigger than the public that goes into most museums with no marketing dollars, using vacant spaces that are in the city everywhere that are just dead, haven't been used, that can be activated in a cultural manner with relevant work that we normally see on the streets. And that's the fun thing is, like, if you take graffiti off of the street and you put it in a gallery, well then the whole argument is, and I would be the first to say it, is that it's no longer graffiti. So it all depends on how the artists are able to intervene with or relate to the space that they're working in. So when they bring it indoors, it can still be graffiti if they have absolute control and reign to do what they want, paint on the floors, paint on the ceiling, do everything. And that's what the fun thing is about vacant spaces, is normally, because they're going to be renovated or they're going to be taken over by somebody else, you can pretty much do anything in them, unlike an institution. And that's how that project evolved, right? And like Melissa's saying, the downside is it always moves, but the upside to that is it never becomes an institution based on a location or a building or a space. The institution is within the community. The community is the institution. The community is always movable. It's ephemeral. Graffiti is ephemeral. It's here today, gone tomorrow, and you have to just produce new stuff if you want to stay relevant or alive. And in a museum, you don't, right? Once you're in a museum, it's the institution that brings credibility to your work, whereas our approach was, it's the artist that brings credibility to the space.
Right.
So it's an interesting project. It's really diverse in the way it is, but it has to stay as informal as possible. And it's hard. It's a struggle because Melissa runs things in a very structured way, which she has to, and I ran things in a very unstructured way, which is what I needed to do. And it's finding that middle ground where it never gets too structured that it takes away from the purity of the culture and what it's supposed to properly represent.